In the heart of Amoaka, a small Igbo village surrounded by tall palm trees and red clay roads, the sun rose higher than usual on a day that was meant to be filled with joy. The drums beat loudly, echoing across the fields. Women carried baskets of food. Men prepared palm wine, and children ran about, excited to witness a wedding that had already become the talk of the village. It was the wedding day of Chike, the beloved son of the great hunter Obi, and Amaka, a beautiful woman from a neighboring village whose charm and elegance made her stand out wherever she went. Everyone knew Chike, hard-working, kind, and respected. He'd built his farm with his own hands and was often praised for his humility. Amaka, on the other hand, was admired for her beauty, but whispered about for her mysterious nature. She never talks much about her family, some said. She walks like a queen, but hides her past like a shadow, others added. But on this day, no one wanted to dwell on suspicion. A wedding was a time for laughter, music, and celebration. The festivities begin. The marketplace had been decorated with palm fronds and colorful wrappers. The elders sat under a canopy, waiting to give blessings. The bride's family arrived in style, dancing, singing, carrying gifts of yam palm oil and cloth. Amaka looked stunning in her wrapper of bright blue and gold, beads around her neck, her smile dazzling. Chike, tall and strong, walked proudly, his white attire spotless, his heart beating fast with excitement. The villagers clapped as they both entered the square. Drums thundered, flutes whistled, and the young dancers jumped high, shaking the earth beneath their feet. But as the ceremony reached its height, something unexpected happened. The collapse just before Chike was to kneel before the elders to receive blessings. His body trembled. He staggered, his eyes rolling back. And in one shocking moment, thud! Chike collapsed onto the red earth. The crowd gasped. Women screamed, some rushing forward. The drummers stopped their beats, leaving the air heavy with silence. "Chike, Chike!" cried Obi, his father, rushing forward. The bride Amaka's smile disappeared instantly. Her face turned pale, her eyes darting nervously as the villagers circled around. What happened? One man shouted, "Did the spirits strike him?" Another woman whispered, "Or is this a bad sign for the marriage?" Murmured the old palm wine tapper. Amaka bent down beside her groom, touching his chest, but her hands trembled as though she knew something the others didn't. Whispers begin. "An abomination!" cried one old woman. "On a wedding day? The gods must be angry." The villagers began to murmur, suspicion growing like fire on dry grass. Some looked at Chike, lying still. Others turned their gaze sharply toward Amaka. "Why is she so quiet?" asked a young girl. "Look at her eyes. She knows something," an elder muttered. Amaka tried to steady her voice. He was fine this morning. I don't know what happened," but her words only fueled more whispers. The shadow of doubt, as Chike's brothers lifted him and laid him in the shade. The elders gathered in a small circle. "This is no ordinary fainting," said Elder Nadozi, stroking his white beard. "It may be sickness," said another. "Or it may be something hidden, something the bride has not told us," added Mama Yulo, the oldest woman in the village, her voice heavy with suspicion. All eyes turned to Amaka, who now stood trembling, her lips pressed tight, as though holding back words she could not release. The wedding square, once alive with music, was now swallowed by uneasy silence. The only sounds were the groans of Chike as his brothers fanned him, and the loud whispers spreading like wildfire among the villagers. Elder Nadozi rose to his feet, leaning on his staff. "This matter cannot be ignored," he declared. His deep voice silenced even the restless children. "On a wedding day, a groom collapsing before the vows? This is a message, and we must know from whom." The villagers nodded. Some clutched their beads and whispered short prayers. Others cast suspicious eyes at Ayem aka Mama Yulo, The respected but feared grandmother of the village stood slowly, her voice sharp like a blade. I have lived many seasons. When such a sign appears on a day of joy, it means a shadow walks among us. Bride, she turned to Amaka, her wrinkled finger pointing. You must speak. Is there something you are hiding from this village? Amaka swallowed hard. Her lips trembled as she opened her mouth, but no words came. She is hiding, shouted a woman from the back. Yes, look at her hands. They shake. Another added, tell us the truth before the gods punish us all. The crowd pressed closer, voices rising. A divided crowd, not everyone condemned her. Some younger women stepped forward. Perhaps he is sick, said Ngozi, Amaka's cousin. Or perhaps the heat overcame him, added another. But their voices were drowned by the anger of the elders and the fear of the crowd. Do not cover the truth with excuses, snapped Elder Okonkwo. If the gods strike a man down, it is not ordinary. We must ask, what did she bring into this union? The words hung heavy, pressing against Amaka like the weight of the sky. The whisper of the boy then came the voice of the child again, the boy who had shouted earlier. He stepped forward, clutching his mother's hand. I saw her, he repeated. Last night. She was standing by the big tree, talking to a man I didn't know. He gave her something. The crowd gasped. What did he give her? Was it medicine? Or a charm? The child shook his head. It was small, wrapped in cloth. She hid it in her wrapper. All eyes turned to Amaka. She shook her head fiercely. No, that is not true. I only went to pray by the tree. The boy must have been dreaming, but her voice cracked, and the villagers heard it. The elders decide. The council of elders huddled together, whispering in low tones. Finally, Elder Nadozi struck his staff against the ground. We cannot let this matter rest. If we ignore it, and the gods are angry, the whole village will suffer. Tonight, when the moon rises, there will be a gathering beneath the Iroko tree. The bride will answer, and the truth will come out. The villagers murmured in agreement. Some cheered. Others shook their heads. But the decision was final. Amaka felt her knees weaken. She looked at Chaik, still unconscious, and tears welled in her eyes. As the sun set, the once celebratory wedding feast turned into uneasy silence. Food lay untouched, drums silent, laughter replaced with fearful whispers. And as the villagers prepared for the gathering, one thought echoed in every heart. What truth was the bride hiding that could make her groom collapse on his wedding day? The moon rose high, casting silver light on the great Iroko tree at the center of the village. Torches burned, circling the space where the elders sat. Men, women, and children gathered in silence, their faces tense with expectation. At the center stood Amaka, trembling but trying to appear strong. The villagers' eyes bore into her like spears. Elder Nadozi raised his staff. Bride of Chaik, tonight you will answer. Did you hide something from your husband and from this village? Amaka's lips quivered. She glanced around, her breath short. I did not mean for harm to come, she whispered. The crowd roared. Ah, she admits it? What did she do? Speak before the gods strike us all. The bride speaks. Amaka's eyes filled with tears. My family. They forced me to marry. They said Chaik was strong and kind, and I would be safe with him. But they never told the truth of why they sent me away. Tell us, thundered Mama Yulo. Amaka dropped to her knees. I was cursed by a rejected suitor, a man from my village whom I refused. He swore that any man who tried to marry me would fall. Gasps rippled through the crowd. So it is true. The curse has struck the groom. This is abomination. Amaka sobbed. I wanted to tell Chaik, but I feared he would reject me. My family said to keep silent, that the curse was just words. I prayed it would never come true. The judgment approaches. The elders murmured among themselves. Some shook their heads. Others whispered proverbs. Elder Okonkwo stood. Marriage built on hidden truth cannot stand. You have shamed the groom and endangered this village. But Elder Nadozi lifted his hand. Yet the girl did not cast the curse. She is also a victim. The villagers buzzed with divided opinions. Some demanded punishment. Others whispered of mercy. Finally, Elder Nadozi raised his staff again. Tomorrow, at dawn, there will be a cleansing ritual. The bride will face the shrine. If she is innocent in her heart, the gods will show mercy. If she is guilty, the curse will claim her. The crowd gasped again, their faces filled with dread and anticipation. And Amaka, she closed her eyes, knowing the hour of truth was near. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon, painting the village in soft gold. The air was cool, heavy with expectation, as families quietly made their way to the shrine of Isla, the goddess of the earth. Children clung to their mothers' wrappers, too frightened to speak, while the men carried offerings, calabashes of palm wine, kola nuts, and yams for the ritual. At the center of it all stood Amaka. Her eyes were swollen from a night of tears. Her hair, once carefully adorned for her wedding, now hung loose and wild. The fine beads around her waist clinked softly with each nervous step. She felt the eyes of the entire village on her back, judging, doubting, and waiting for her fate to be sealed. Beside her, Chaik was carried on a wooden stool by his brothers. Though weak, he insisted on being present. His face was pale, but his eyes, filled with both pain and love, never left Amaka's trembling figure. The priestess calls the spirits. Old priestess of Isla stepped forward, her body painted with white clay, her hair adorned with cowries and feathers. In her hand, she carried the sacred staff, carved with symbols of the ancestors. Her voice echoed through the shrine. "People of Amawaka," she began, her tone steady and commanding. "Today we stand before the goddess of the earth to uncover truth. A groom has fallen on the day of his marriage. A curse has been spoken. A secret has been hidden. The gods demand light, for shadows cannot dwell in a union meant to be blessed." The villagers bowed their heads. Some murmured prayers. Others crossed their arms tightly across their chests. The priestess turned to Amaka. "Daughter, step forward. Place your hands upon the staff. Speak truth, for the earth does not lie. If your heart is clean, the gods will protect you. If your hands are stained with deceit, the ground beneath you will speak." Amaka's Pliamaka hesitated, her whole body trembling. She closed her eyes and touched the sacred staff. The wood was warm, as though alive. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "I did not curse my husband. I am not the maker of this evil. But yes, I hid a truth. A man I rejected long ago swore that no groom would ever stand beside me. My family told me to keep silent, to believe that curses are only words. But fear lived in my heart. I prayed it would never come true." Gasps rippled through the villagers. Mothers covered their mouths. Men exchanged suspicious glances. Children pressed closer to their parents. Amaka continued, her sobs shaking her shoulders. "I hid it not because I wished harm, but because I feared losing Chaik. He's the only man I have ever loved. If I spoke, perhaps he would have turned away. And so I chose silence, and my silence has brought this shame." The test of the gods, the priestess raised the staff high. Ayla does not judge the tongue, but the heart. If this girl speaks truth, let the spirits show mercy. If she lies, let the ground open and claim her. She began to chant in a deep, rhythmic voice. The crowd joined, their voices rising like waves against the shore. Smoke from burning herbs curled upward, filling the shrine with a choking but sacred scent. Suddenly, a strong wind swept through, rattling the trees. The flames of the torches bent sideways, flickering wildly. The villagers gasped and fell silent. Amaka's knees buckled. For a moment, she thought the ground beneath her would crack open. But then something strange happened. The sacred staff in her hands glowed faintly, its carving shimmering with light. The priestess's eyes widened, then softened. "The gods have spoken," she declared. "This girl carries no wickedness in her heart. The curse is real, but she is not its author. She is a victim, not a sinner." Relief swept through the villagers. Some clapped, others wept. A mother hugged her child tightly, whispering thanks to the spirits. Chaik's word, Chaik, weak but determined, called out from his stool. His voice was hoarse, but it carried strength. "People of Amawaka, hear me. This woman, Amaka, is my chosen bride." Yes, she hid her fear, but would you not have done the same if love was at stake? The curse was laid upon her by another, yet she has carried the burden alone. From this day, I choose to carry it with her. For what is love if not the sharing of burdens? His words struck deep into the hearts of the villagers. Even those who had doubted Amaka now lowered their heads in shame. The cleansing ritual. The priestess signaled for the ritual to begin. Amaka was led to the river, where she was bathed in sacred herbs. Women sang ancient songs as they poured water over her head. She shivered, but with each pour, it felt as though layers of fear were being washed away. At the riverbank, Chaik's brothers helped him to his feet. Despite his weakness, he walked to the water. When Amaka emerged, dripping and trembling, he took her hand before the entire village. Together, they returned to the shrine. The priestess placed a white cloth over their shoulders and sprinkled chalk on their foreheads. "Today, the curse is broken," she announced. "Love has triumphed over fear. Honesty has triumphed over silence. From this day forth, this union will stand." The moral is spoken. Elder Nadozi rose, leaning heavily on his staff. His voice carried the weight of wisdom. "Let all who have ears listen. Marriage cannot grow where secrets hide. A single truth concealed can destroy a forest of happiness." Amaka's silence almost cost her everything, but her heart has proven pure. From today, let us remember, honesty is lighter than the heaviest secret. Mama Yulo added with a firm nod. "The curse of men is cruel, but the silence of women can be heavier. Speak the truth, for it is the only medicine against lies." The villagers murmured their agreement. Some wiped tears, others clapped softly. Children, who would one day tell this story, listened with wide eyes. A new beginning. The feast that had ended in fear the day before was renewed with joy. Drums echoed once more. Women danced in circles, their wrappers swaying. Men raised calabashes of palm wine. Chie and Amaka, though still weary, smiled at each other with a new bond stronger than before. Their love had been tested by the weight of a curse, and it had survived. As the celebration filled the air, Elder Nadozi spoke one final proverb that the villagers carried home. "He who hides truth hides fire under his bed. One day, it will burn the whole house. Speak early, so the flame may be put out before it spreads."